Song Min-ho, famously known as Mino from the K-pop group Winner, is facing a potential prison sentence and the complete collapse of his career after being indicted for falsifying military service records and skipping a staggering 102 days of work while serving as a public service agent. The scandal, triggered by a relentless media investigation, exposed a pattern of negligence where the idol was found partying, traveling, and engaging in leisure activities, despite citing mental health issues to avoid duty, while a facility manager actively colluded to cover up his absences by forging official documents. With the prosecution seeking a sentence of up to 3 years under the Strict Military Service Act, the case has ignited a fierce cultural debate as Korean netizens express outrage over the perceived abuse of celebrity privilege and betrayal of national duty, while international fans voice shock at the severity of the punishment when compared to sentences for more violent crimes, leaving Mino's future in the entertainment industry hanging by a thread as he awaits his court verdict. To understand the gravity of this situation, we have to go back to the beginning of his service. Mino enlisted as a social service worker in March 2023, a type of alternative service reserved for those who, for health reasons, cannot handle the rigors of active duty. He was rated grade 4 during his physical examination, which qualified him for this public service role. On paper, he was working at a resident convenience facility in the Mapo district of Seoul. For months, the public assumed he was quietly fulfilling his duty, counting down the days until his discharge in December 2024. But rumors began to swirl, and they weren't just whispers on forums. They were specific, detailed allegations that caught the attention of the media outlet Dispatch. Known for their relentless investigative journalism, Dispatch decided to verify these rumors, and what they found sparked a national outcry. They visited the Mapo Community Service Facility where Mino was supposedly working, and simply put, he wasn't there. Now, being absent once could be a mistake. Being absent twice could be a sick day. But Dispatch kept visiting, and Mino kept being nowhere to be found. When they questioned employees and his supervisor, they were met with a wall of excuses. They claimed he was on military vacation, or that he was sick, or that he was hospitalized. But the inconsistencies were impossible to ignore. Korean netizens were already enraged by the idea of a celebrity shirking their duty. But then Dispatch did something that divided the public even further. They revealed his specific medical conditions. In an attempt to prove he wasn't too sick to work, Dispatch disclosed that Mino suffered from anxiety, panic attacks, and bipolar disorder. This revelation ignited a firestorm. While some were angry at Mino, others were furious at Dispatch for violating his privacy by outing his mental health struggles without his consent. It was a messy, ugly start to a scandal that was only going to get darker. Despite the controversy over his medical records, the evidence regarding his attendance was damning. Dispatch didn't just rely on sightings. They gathered testimonies from co-workers that painted a picture of a celebrity living by his own rules. Worker A claimed they rarely saw Mino come to work, noting that while everyone else started at 9 a.m., the facility had mysteriously adjusted Mino's start time to 10 a.m. But even that adjusted time seemed to be a suggestion rather than a rule. Worker B stepped forward with even more shocking details, describing a man who, when he did show up, would sit half lying down with headphones on, playing games. They alleged he barely answered phones, citing that people would recognize his voice, and he was excluded from standard tasks due to social phobia. Yet the same man was reportedly seen attending DJ parties and going camping, leading many to ask the question, was this selective social anxiety? The most damaging evidence came from the timeline of his whereabouts. While Mino was claiming illness or social phobia to get out of work, photos surfaced of him enjoying life in ways that seemed incompatible with his claims. He was seen traveling to Gangwon province, specifically Kosong and Yeong, enjoying camping trips. In August 2023, just months into his service, he attended a DJ party at a popular cafe in Kosong. Dispatch noted that he was shirtless, comfortable, and sporting long hair, a violation of military grooming standards. Witnesses at the party stated he was drinking, smoking, and socializing without any visible signs of the panic disorder he claimed hindered his public service duties. It was a stark contradiction that turned public opinion against him rapidly. How can you be too anxious to answer a phone at a desk job, but confident enough to party shirtless in public? As the investigation moved from the court of public opinion to actual legal proceedings, the situation escalated dramatically. On December 27, 2024, police conducted a search and seizure of his workplace, securing CCTV footage that would dismantle his defense. Initially, Mino denied the charges, stating firmly that he had served normally, but faced with undeniable evidence, his story began to crumble. By the third round of questioning in February 2025, Mino largely admitted to leaving his workplace during service hours. It was a pivotal moment. The National Office of Investigation confirmed that they had found more than 8 days of unauthorized absence, which is the legal threshold for criminal charges under the Military Service Act. But the actual number of days he missed was staggering. The Seoul Western District Prosecutor's Office didn't just find a few extra days. They alleged that Mino had skipped a total of 102 days of work without permission. Let that number sink in. Social service workers are required to work approximately 430 days during their service period. If the prosecution's claim is accurate, Mino was absent for nearly a quarter of his entire service. He didn't just bend the rules, he allegedly ignored them entirely. The indictment detailed that his absenteeism got worse as his discharge date approached. Between March and May 2023, he was absent for only 1 day, but by November 2024, just a month before his discharge, he missed 14 days. In July 2024, during the monsoon season, he missed 19 days out of 23 scheduled workdays. He reportedly only showed up 4 times that entire month. The investigation revealed that it wasn't just laziness. There was an element of collusion. A manager at the facility, identified only as Mr. A, was indicted alongside Mino. The prosecution found that Mr. A was not just turning a blind eye, but actively facilitating Mino's evasion. When Mino said he wouldn't come in due to oversleeping or fatigue, Mr. A allegedly permitted it and then falsified documents to make it look like Mino had worked a full day. They even used a messaging app to coordinate their stories. In one specific instance detailed in the indictment, Mr. B messaged Mino on May 29, 2023, saying he had training the next day and wouldn't be in, essentially giving Mino a heads up that he could skip work without supervision. That same day, photos appeared on Mino's sister's social media showing he had flown to San Francisco for her wedding. It was a systemic abuse of power and privilege that infuriated the Korean public. This brings us to the legal hammer that is about to drop. Under Article 89 of the South Korean Military Service Act, anyone who is absent from service for more than 8 days without justifiable cause faces a sentence of up to 3 years in prison. This isn't a fine or a slap on the wrist. It is a criminal offense meant to enforce the mandatory duty of national defense. When the news broke that Mino could face this maximum sentence, the discourse shifted from his work ethic to the severity of the punishment. International fans were particularly vocal, pointing out the perceived injustice in the legal system. Comments flooded social media highlighting that Mino, who skipped work, was potentially facing a longer sentence than serious criminals like Choi Jong-hoon, who received a lighter sentence for gang rape. The comparison was jarring and sparked a massive debate about Korean sentencing guidelines. However, in Korea, the context is different. Military service is seen as a sacred duty, the pillar of the country's defense against a hostile neighbor. Evading it is viewed not just as a personal failing, but as a betrayal of the state. Netizens argued that if a normal citizen tried this, they would be in prison immediately, and celebrity privilege should not grant Mino leniency. The backlash was visceral. People demanded he retire from the industry, stating they never wanted to see him on stage again. The idea that he might have to re-enlist to complete his service properly, like the singer Seven had to do years ago, was floated. But with a criminal conviction, his career as a public figure is on life support. The court of public opinion had ruled, and the verdict was harsh. As the scandal unfolded, there were even more bizarre twists. In June 2025, while under investigation, Mino was involved in a minor car accident while riding a taxi. While he wasn't at fault and it wasn't serious, it added to the narrative of a life spiraling out of control. His agency, YG Entertainment, found themselves in a nightmare scenario. They had initially denied the allegations, stating that all absences were in accordance with regulations and that his sick leave was an extension of treatment he received before enlistment. But with the prosecution securing mobile phone forensics and GPS data proving the 102-day absence, that defense evaporated. The silence from his legal team spoke volumes. The first trial is now set for April 21st, and the tension is palpable. Mino and his supervisor are walking into a courtroom with objective data tracking his movements, falsified logs, and a mountain of public anger. The prosecution has made it clear they are seeking prison time. For a man who debuted with Winner in 2014, survived the intense survival show Win Who Is Next, and built a reputation as a talented rapper and quirky variety star, this fall from grace is vertigo-inducing. The irony of his stage name Mino sounding like minor isn't lost on anyone now. This is a major felony.